Starting with Lebanese, that will be our third rationalist philosopher. Now, Lebanese doctrine of substance. Lebanese concept of substance can be understood as a polemic to the pre-existing notion of substance accepted by other rationalists, namely Descartes and Spinoza. While the earlier rationalists defined the substance in terms of independent existence, Leibniz conceived substance as spiritual entities which can act independently. While Descartes understood a dualistic notion of substance, Spinoza adopted a strictly monist approach. But Leibniz accepted many number of substances. The following arguments were extended by Leibniz to discard the views adopted by Descartes and Spinoza. Critique of Cartesian dualism. Descartes accepted matter whose essence is extension and mind whose essence is consciousness as substance. Leibniz rejected both of these notions on the following ground. Extension is not real because it is always divisible and can lead to something which is simple and indivisible. Extension by itself is purely passive and the world is dynamic. We perceive that the extended things in the world are in motion as well as they have inertia. This presupposes the concept of force, which is the ability to change. Thus, force is real and we cannot treat inertia and extended things as substance. Now, Leibniz does not outrightly deny the concept of mind in Descartes, since mind represents activity which goes along with Leibniz's notion of substance, but he tries to include unconscious state as well within the concept of mind. There are many mental states which are very vague and indistinguishable. Even though they represent activity, they cannot be treated as conscious states. Leibniz extends the idea of mind to include unconscious within its purview. Now, critique of Spinoza's pantheism. Descartes' definition of substance as well as that which is in itself can be known through itself found its culmination in Spinoza's pantheism. Leibniz believed Spinoza's failed to account for problem of change and plurality in this world. Also, Spinoza's system is static and deterministic, like geometric principles, which gives little scope for individual actions. Although he brings in the concept of attributes to account for plurality, it turns out to be self contradictory as Spinoza ascribes opposing attributes like extension and thought at the same time on the substance. Thus, Leibniz conceives substance in a way which that it can explain plurality and change. Also, Leibniz begins a supporter of being a supporter of law of continuity, never differentiates mind and body in a mutually exclusive manner like Descartes. By accepting everything as active in different degrees, he bridges the dichotomy between animate and inanimate. These ideas get represented in Leibniz monadology, which tries to solve several philosophical problems by making use of concepts of monad, the ultimate substance. Now, characteristics of monads. Monads are many and eternal. There are infinite number of monads and each of them is considered as a substance. The monads are eternal and can be destroyed only by miracle on part of God. Only those things which are indivisible can be treated as eternal. Thus, monads are essentially non-extended and indivisible. Monads are spiritual. All the monads are substances which are essentially spiritual entities that signify force. Even the extended material things are essentially monads since the dynamic phenomena like light and heat presume some kind of force. This is because monads other than God monad have a kind of limitation in itself to become extended and exist in aggregates. Thus, any object in the world is a combination of monads. Now, even a body which seems inert is subjected to dynamism. Also, we need to apply force to overcome inertia of apparently non spiritual things. Thus, monads are essentially spiritual. Now, all monads are unique. No two monads can be same. Even though all monads are essentially spiritual, they differ in the degree in which they possess force. Making use of concepts of identity of indiscernible, Leibniz accounts for pluralism in this world by stating that all monads are unique in their own ways, depending on the level of active force they do possess. This property is known as law of individuality. Now, monads follow law of continuity. Leibniz's tendency to reconcile apparently opposing principles like Motion rest, consciousness materialism can be seen in his monadology as well. Thus, like numbers are arranged in a continuous series, monads are arranged without any abrupt change in level of activity. Thus, we can again say, even though there is no discernible difference between two numbers which are closely located in number line, they are actually unique. The same is the case with respect to monads as well. The law, thus, the law of individuality is closely intertwined with law of continuity in Leibniz's monadology. Now, monads are windowless. These are the characteristics. Monads are windowless. Monads are self-contained entities. Since monads are substances which have independent activity, no monad should be able to influence the other. In this sense, monads are treated as windowless. Hence, all the possibility of a monad are contained in it. It is said that every monad is a world in miniature. It is freighted with past and big with the future. For instance, every portion of matter can be considered a pond full of fishes. Again, each member of every fish, every branch of every plant, and every drop of its liquid is also such some such pond. Okay. Monads have perception and appetition. By virtue of perception, each monad mirrors the whole infinity of existence. The more developed a monad, clearer will be its perception. The lesser the monads will have relatively obscure perception. Since every monad is force, it has appetition, by virtue of which it acts as and tends to pass from obscure to clearer perception. The activity of lower monads is purely random and impulsive. Higher monads are prompted by will and desire. Now, theory of pre-established harmony. In order to explain the relation between two monads and also to account for mind-body problem, Leibniz propounds the theory of pre-established harmony. Leibniz characterized monads as independent and windowless. However, the world is harmony and a cosmos. Thus, Leibniz assumed that at the time of creation of world, God established harmony among monads in such a way that whenever a change occurs in one monad, naturally a change occurs in others too. He has arranged the monads in a hierarchical order so that change in one is preceded and followed in other monads harmoniously. Now, in the order of Leibniz monad, at the top we have God, that is purely conscious monad, and at the bottom most we have purely unconscious monad, not purely unconscious monad, that is chair. Now, according to Leibniz, there is no cause-effect relation between monads as there are no interactions between them. What appears as interaction to a beholder is really a concomitant change. To explain the theory of pre-established harmony, Leibniz extends the analogy of orchestra. In an orchestra, every player concentrates on his own part. When the time changes, for a spectator, it seems that there is a cause effect relation between different players, but it is really not so. It is the harmony established before the performance on stage apparently seems like a causal interaction. Thus, although the monads work independently according to their own inner urge, the inner plan which guides each monad get coincided with the grand plan of Creator God. Therefore, a harmony is reached in the world. The doctrine of pre-established harmony is nothing but an extension of parallelism of Spinoza. However, Spinoza's parallelism is confined to the relation between mind and body only. But Leibniz extends this into interaction between any two objects in the world and characterized them as concomitant relation based on pre-established harmony. Now, mind-body problem. Leibniz spiritualizes mind and body and considers them to be composed of monads. The body and mind corresponds to each other as God established a harmony between them. Their, cos- their correspondence is due to a pre-established harmony. In a strict sense, there is no body or matter in the philosophy of Leibniz. The body is a cluster of monads having lower degree of consciousness. Every part of the body is again characterized by complete living force. In all aggregate monads in the body, there is a dominant monad called queen monad, which is characterized as mind or soul. Thus, the mind is self-conscious or higher monad. It has more developed perception and knows what is going to happen in the other monads in the body as well as outside. The god has subordinated the working of lower monads of the body to the higher monads through pre established harmony. Thus, the lower monads appear as means and conditions for realization of the ends of higher monads. For instance, as soon as a conscious desire for movement of hand occurs, the muscular changes take place concomitantly in the body according to pre established plan. However, for a beholder, it may appear as the desire has caused the movement. The relation between mind and body in Western philosophy can be further illustrated with a simile of two clocks showing the same time always. This harmonious relation can be explained in four ways, which corresponds to four views regarding mind body relation in Western philosophy. Now, Descartes' view is the two clocks are so connected that through joint mechanisms leading to causal interaction, they influence and interact with each other. Spinoza say the two are driven by one and the same mechanism as they are two parallel aspects of the same substance. Occasionalism, the two clocks work harmoniously because a skilled mechanic keeps on regulation the two from time to time. Like this, God intervenes on occasion to ensure their agreement. Leibniz rejects Descartes' notion of interactionism, saying that mind and body cannot interact as they are aggregates of windowless monads. Again, Leibniz rejects Spinoza's notion of infinite eternal substance. Similarly, he rejects the view of occasionalists, saying that the constant interference of God is nothing but limitation on his own divine power. Therefore, Leibniz believes that the two clocks show the same time because of the pre established harmony, that is, the God has constructed and started the two clocks with much perfection and plan in beginning itself, so that it always functions in harmony. Now, criticisms. Since all monads are windowless, there is no way by which knowledge of world is possible. If one concedes that knowledge of world is possible, it is tantamount to admitting that he or she is affected by another monad, which contradicts own position, which says all monads are independent things in themselves. The logical culmination of monadology is subjectivism solipsism, which says that one can have access only to one's own mental states and nothing else. Even the verification of entire philosophy of Leibniz is impossible. For verification, one has to go beyond one's own mental state. No monad can go beyond itself and perceive infinite number of monads and their mutual relation. Thus, Leibniz' concept of monads, his solution to mind-body problem, and theory of pre-established harmony, everything always remain unverified. The pre established harmony doesn't follow from the nature of monads themselves, even though the plan which every monad tries to realize is internal. It was introduced to monads by God, which is external to the real nature of monads. The status of eternality of monads remain vague in Leibniz philosophy. Even though Leibniz says monads are eternal, they can be destroyed by God. This contradicts his own position. In another instance, Leibniz says that monads are fulgurations or emanations from God, which is tantamount to saying that monads are like perishable modes of God. It is said that theology and monadology are contradictory to each other. Once the world gets governed by a divine plan of the world, that is pre established harmony, there is no point in saying that monads have independent activity. The independent activity which monads are supposed to possess come under divine plan, and free will turns out to be illusionary. Also, it is said that monads are self-contained entities. There is no point in bringing in God. The theory of Leibniz suffers from the problem of absolute relativity. It is said that the essence of monad lies in the clarity with which it reflects states of other monads. If A mirrors B and B mirrors C, A's perception is not includes B's but B's perception of C. It will result in an indeterminable series. The origin of extended material things is also vaguely explained by Leibniz, merely making use of concepts like inertia and saying that inferior monads can exist in aggregates doesn't satisfactorily answer the question how spiritual force appear as extended things. That'll be it for the rationalist. We'll be starting the empiricism part of the syllabus in the next video. We'll be starting with John Locke.